welcome to the Henna Sooq channel. My name is Khadija. I'm here to help you on your henna hair color and Ayurvedic hair care journey. One of the biggest myths out there is that your hair is gonna melt off if you use henna and indigo because of all these metallic salts, all this compound henna. So when indigo is pure, you'll notice that in about 15 to 20 minutes after mixing it with warm to hot distilled water, and it's been sitting there, you'll see this bluish kind of glaze, kind of come over the top layer of the indigo, showing you that it does have dye release. And then if you pull back that top layer, just skim the surface of the paste, you'll see that it'll be still kind of that bright green underneath. And that's how you know that indigo is 100% natural. So, and if it's really black and kind of browny when it climbs it probably more than likely has chemicals in it. So do not use. So I got a few different kinds. This is liquid henna. Looks like dye basically, because henna does not stay good in a liquid form. There definitely has to be other ingredients in liquid henna products, especially if it's on the shelf like this. It'll definitely have some type of preservative or dye, chemicals, definitely has something else in it. This is not natural henna for sure. Nope, nope, nope. That's a key giveaway right there. This is not natural because it's liquid form. The only way to preserve your henna is to freeze it. Now let's grab it. That's that one. This is what it looks like. All right, yeah, that one definitely smells. I know I've been dealing with henna for a really long time, so I could already smell something really off. How do I describe it? It almost went into my mouth. It doesn't smell like Hennasooq henna. It doesn't smell like just natural henna. It has other ingredients, and I did read the ingredients. And then I have another one here that definitely says black henna. Okay, this one's really different. It's kind of like brown or something. There we go. Yeah, that one's really different. I don't even know if that one has a different smell too much because the other one's already in the air, but it definitely looks way different. You see that? And luckily we don't even need scissors for this because Hennasooqs can be torn right at the seam. Look at that color. This is indigo. 100% pure indigo. Do I need to say anything else about the indigo? Do I really? Or do I not really? So let me show you the henna, so that way you can see the difference. And we're gonna be using some of the organic Rajasthani henna. And again, boop, there, and it's open. So easy. I don't even have to grab scissors. That makes me happy, actually. It really does. And this is henna powder. Smells delicious. Delicious. Put a little bit in there. Boom, boom, boom. Ooh, pretty. See all the color differences? How very fascinating. Today's question is, does timing affect the results of your henna hair color treatment? And the answer is yes, it actually does. And this has been coming up a lot recently because for the most part, most people for optimal results are gonna leave it in at least 3 to 4 hours is what we recommend in general. But, there are different ways to kind of get your color results to come out a little bit different if you change that timing up a little bit. For sure, the longer that the henna hair color is left in your hair, the better the color outcome, the more long lasting it'll definitely be, and then just the overall results of that color and that depth of color that you'll see is going to be amazing. So for example, if you had really light hair or grays and you wanted those grays or that light tone of your hair to naturally come out more of a strawberry blonde, rather than leaving it in for about 3 to 4 hours, whereas you usually get a really nice copper tone, by leaving it on a shorter period of time, you're going to get a nice strawberry tone. And that probably only needs about an hour or 2 maximum. Usually a strawberry tone is usually going to be about 3 parts cassia to 1 part henna. But again, just that shorter period of time gets you that strawberry blonde and probably make you happier in a way because you'll be spending less time coloring your hair. Now, for a nice deep brown, especially on light hair tones, you're gonna see this in grays. Stubborn grays might be the exception, but just leaving in your henna for like 30 minutes, rinsing that out with our cleansing co-wash, and then coming back over it with indigo and leaving that on for 45 minutes, that can get you a nice, rich, deep brown and save you a lot of time. Now, if you want to achieve a super rich black tone, definitely going to be leaving on your henna as your first step for about 3 to 4 hours in your hair, and then you're going to follow up with your indigo, and again, that's going to be about 3 to 4 hours in your hair as well, and that will give you a gorgeous, super black tone. Now, if you wanted your black tone in your hair to be a little softer, I've definitely had some of you ask about like not wanting it to be too black and you're worried about it being very dark. What you can do for a soft black tone is leave your henna in for about an hour, then you rinse that out, wash it out. Don't forget to use a cleansing co-wash because you want to add back moisture at the same time, because henna and Ayurvedic hair care, coloring, all those masking treatments can be a little drying. And then once you've done that henna treatment and rinse it out, then you're gonna do your indigo as a follow-up and leave that in for just an hour. And that'll give you a nice soft black tone. And that is saving you a lot of time as well. And of course, you can also play along with all the recipes and combinations that you're making and doing. If you want, like say, a chestnut brown tone, you can leave your henna on for about 2 hours. And then, rinse that out, cleansing co-wash, and then follow up with the indigo and leave that on for only about an hour. Sometimes it's not always a one and done. You have to sometimes do a second application, even a third, because you're building up the tone. And when new hair grows in, it's like virgin hair, so it's like you're starting all over again. So bear that in mind and just be patient with the process, but you will get to where you want to go, where you're headed. Can henna weigh down my curls? So what about your delicate, fine curls and strands? Will henna weigh those down? What will happen if you use henna on that type of hair? Well, it can loosen the curl pattern, it can weigh it down a little bit. And if you do also still want the benefits of henna and you're kind of concerned about that, just use henna in an oil infusion or use henna in a spritz. That will be amazing for your hair. And another tip with henna, if you're gonna do a gloss or a henna color treatment, then all you have to do is add amla powder or Zysivus powder to just maintain and keep those curls bouncy and beautiful and still strengthened without like weighing them down, because you want that beautiful natural volume and just look of your hair. And Zysivus and amla will be key to getting your amla right. So definitely use those two herbs along with your henna treatments to get really great results. And for your curls that are very fine, just treat them delicately, definitely be very delicate with it. Wash out all your treatments with extra cleansing co-wash, brush with a wooden brush, and just do a lot of protective styles, and don't over manipulate fine hair strands. You don't have to leave your treatments in too long either, because it's not really necessary. You don't want to cause your finer hair strands to break in any type of way. So you make sure you do not let any Ayurvedic hair treatments dry out on your hair either. So you're about to dye your hair with henna and you're wondering, well, how long does it last exactly? Is it a rinse? Is it a semi-permanent? Or is it permanent hair color? So henna hair color is permanent, but of course your hair does grow. So on average, I would probably say you might need to redo it every 4 to 6 weeks. There is some overall fading that can occur because the elements and the weather and washing it and everything that you're using. So every 4 to 6 weeks would be ideal. If you have gray hair that you're covering and it definitely grows really quickly, you may have to do a root touch-up in between, which with exactly actually the same recipe that you've been doing, with just a smaller quantity of that recipe, and just touch up the areas that you need to get done, and still leave it in the same amount of time. But that will definitely be about what your henna hair dye color regimen would be. That's about the time that you'll need to do that, either every few weeks for root touch-ups, and if not, every 4 to 6 weeks on average. You can even wait 2 months if you feel like, okay, I haven't had a whole lot of growth, so you can wait to redo it then. And you can rotate full head treatments, in and also root touch-ups in between. Whatever works best for you, you can do. But I definitely always recommend that you do like a full hair treatment as a refresher every once in a while, because remember, henna hair color is not just about the dye, but the strengthening, the benefits, and the protection that your hair gets, even from the sun and the elements. It really protects your hair like a coat of armor, really. So it's really good for your hair in that way. If my hair is black, can I dye it like a ginger coppery color with henna? Well, black hair is pretty dark. So and even if it's brown and you want to go lighter, I have some sad news for you guys. I'm so sorry, but you cannot dye your dark black hair, dark brown hair lighter than what it is naturally, because henna is not a chemical. I know you all see these boxes of henna colors and all these blends, and like you look at it and say, wow, it should be like the same. But the thing with Ayurvedic herbs and henna, it's a plant. It's not a chemical like color. Like dyes strips away your natural hair color and just, you know, will possibly damage your hair. So you definitely got to be wary of that. But if your hair is already that dark, unfortunately you can't go lighter without chemicals, you know, so it's a hard one. You know, you can't play around with colors like that because they're herbs, but you can give your hair the reddish hue to give it the appearance of lightness, but you can't go that much lighter without chemicals. So I'm sorry, you know, but you can do a lot of other healthy hair care treatments. You definitely can. People get really nervous about metal. They're like, can I use metal with henna? Well, since not all hennas are created equally, you kind of can't, because you don't really know sometimes what are in some of the henna products and brands out there. At Hennasooq, we do procure the raw, natural form, unadulterated, nothing else in it, no mixes, no blends. That's why we are majorly DIY, so that way you know exactly what's going into your hair care recipes in your body and throughout, because that's really important to know. So with our products, yes, you can use metal. It's not going to conflict. It's very sanitary. I actually love using metal when we're mixing all of our products. We use stainless steel. It's so easy to clean, and we just love using metal in that case, especially for big batches that we're mixing for you guys for, you know, the next best products that we have coming out. So metal, you can use it. Yes, you can safely. So the answer is yes. Don't worry. With our products here at Hennasooq, you can use your stainless steel bowl and spoons and any of the, you know, you want to whip it up with a hand blender, make it extra smooth and creamy. Yes, go for it. Ever wonder if henna really does dry the hair out? You've probably heard it and seen that all over the internet, that henna can be so drying and it could just strip your hair and just make it feel horrible. You know what? Part of that is true. If you do not use henna according to your hair type, it could severely dry out your hair. If your hair needs moisture already in general, then you definitely want to add aloe vera powder to your henna mixture, or something more moisturizing like a butter or oils and any other herb that might add more moisture, because henna alone can definitely be drying, and we want you to have the best results possible. So make sure you use henna according to what your hair needs. Will henna damage my hair? Can it do that? Actually, yes, it can. It can damage your hair if you're not using henna in the right type of way. You know, I'm super transparent and honest. I don't want to make this a fairy tale like, ooh, henna is just gonna be all like, you know, beautiful flowers and roses and you know, that nothing bad can happen. I mean, there are some things that can happen that can damage your hair. So I want to share with you some of those things so that way you have success. And that's what I do here at the Hennasooq channel right here on YouTube, is I share all the methods and tips on getting really good results using henna. So key thing is henna can sometimes dry out your hair, and henna acts as a protein treatment. So you don't want to overdo it. You don't want to overdo anything with henna. You gotta balance with moisture. Moisture, moisture, moisture is key. You got to listen to your hair, especially if you are doing everything at home and you're not consulting, you know, a natural hair professional. I do consultations, by the way, which you could book with me, and it's all online. And definitely just balancing out those treatments where you're not doing it back to back. Like every week is not necessary. You don't have to do a weekly henna treatment or mask. You definitely want to space those out, maybe every 3 to 4 weeks. And if you're coloring your hair with henna, that's like every 4 to 6 weeks, maybe a root touch-up in between. But don't overdo it, and don't dry your hair out, because dry hair and stiff hair is unhappy hair, and you're unhappy, and it could cause more breakage and splitting, and you just really have to balance it out. And how do you balance that out? Well, you add aloe vera powder, you can add some shea butter, some hair oils that your hair loves and likes, a little bit of conditioner. This restorative conditioner will help you. This is key. It's a cleansing co-wash. It's very restorative. So does henna turn your hair green? Actually, no, it does not. Your hair will never turn green from natural henna. If you're using a henna color or a henna blend, that's kind of unpredictable because it depends on the ingredients. But typically a lot of those horror stories come from those who are using henna with indigo or indigo alone. So if you use indigo in that way, or the mixture just doesn't come out right, indigo can make your hair green, which not many of you might like. So definitely make sure that you're using the henna and indigo properly, and make sure to have pure henna when you're using indigo as well, because henna acts as the base and indigo is what will make it more brown to black. But you definitely need henna in that recipe. And if something went wrong with some of the steps, then and it turns green, it's usually because something went wrong. Should I use lemon juice? Can I use chamomile tea? Can I use green tea? Like, what can I use? That is a very, very common question. The best answer that I have, and honestly and professionally, what we use in the salon is always going to be warm to hot distilled water. Distilled water is so gentle on the hair. It's definitely the #1 ingredient that we use, and it's like a go-to. And if you use lemon juice, the thing is it can be very drying. So if your hair is already on the dry side, it's going to cause a lot of breakage, because henna and Ayurvedic hair treatments can be, you know, drying, especially henna. So you want to balance it out with what your hair needs. You want to use henna in a way that makes your hair happy, because henna is for everyone. It's not, you know, it's definitely for everyone. And you just want to use a gentle liquid when it comes to mixing it. You can even use chamomile tea, you can use green tea, any like red tea as well would work really well, but you could definitely use gentle ingredients if you want to and explore. But first start with warm to hot distilled water and see how that goes and if you like those results. But when using lemon juice, you can maybe add a little bit if you want to try it out, but don't use 100% lemon juice as your whole liquid base. Try to mix it with water or tea or something to make it a little bit more gentle. And you can even use apple cider vinegar. So you could definitely do that. And let me know, what is your favorite liquid? Which one do you like the best? Will my hair fall out if I use henna after using chemicals? So let's say you're still doing chemical hair treatments, you know, like dyeing your hair or using perm, any type of, you know, chemical process. There's a lot of kind of scary information out there about that henna will melt your hair off. It'll just make all this crazy stuff happen, which is not true. Unfortunately, most colorists and most of those in like the cosmetology kind of industry, they don't talk about natural hair care. They really don't. It's growing, it's changing, and that's why I'm here. That's why I have a professional henna hair color course. That being said, yes, you can still do chemical hair dyes if you want to, perm, and still use henna. Henna masks and treats. It doesn't have to be pure henna powder, but henna masks, deep conditioning treatments with henna. You know, you can kind of rotate them in every 3 to 4 weeks. You know, you aren't going to do it all back to back. You know, your hair needs a bit of a break. So just being mindful of that. And maybe your stylist or colorist might be against it, but it's your hair, you know, it's your hair and you have the right to do other treatments that you want to. I will say, because you know I'm transparent and I'm always going to be honest about that, henna is very difficult to remove, so that is a true fact. But there is nothing better about chemicals when it comes, you know, henna is a natural herb that's been around here for thousands of years, so chemicals ain't got nothing on henna. It really, really doesn't. But I understand and respect that people want to play with their hair and kind of, you know, see how their hair is going to be, you know, and it's creative and it's art and it makes you feel happy. So I understand that totally. I just really recommend that if you decide to use any type of chemicals or any other type of treatments, that you should have like henna or an Ayurvedic herbal hair treatment as part of your regimen as well. What is neutral henna? Or, as they say in French, c'est quoi le henna neutre? So, neutral henna is really not henna. You see, henna is its own plant. It grows and it produces a reddish tint all on its own. There are no such thing as henna colors. And you hear about this neutral henna, what is it? It's actually really a whole nother plant, to be quite honest, a whole other plant. It's typically cassia. Cassia is what has gotten the new name of neutral henna because it acts like henna and behaves like some of the properties and benefits that you can get from henna, but it's not going to color your hair a reddish tint. So it's organic cassia obovata. But the thing is, cassia is also very cleansing, so it's still kind of quite different from henna. Henna is packed with a lot more protein and is very strengthening. So they're kind of not, you know, they're not the same, but organic cassia gets labeled neutral henna when it is just amazing cassia, which is great for your hair. Indigo didn't work for my hair. Now what? Yes, that can definitely be really annoying. Yes, I get it. I definitely get it. When the indigo doesn't work, because it is probably the pickiest herb of all the Ayurvedic herbs, has just that fighting of like against you sometimes where it's like, stubborn grays, I'm not gonna stick to those. I'm just gonna go ahead and just be free. Seriously though, it's can be really frustrating when the indigo doesn't work and you're like, well, what do I do? So this is what I recommend. First off, what henna are you using? Sometimes people only purchase our indigo and they don't purchase the henna from us. You know, maybe you have some henna from somewhere else, you know, was a little bit less costly to you, you know, and at the time maybe someone gave it to you. Or sometimes that henna, maybe it just has something that you were trying to do for healthier hair, and unfortunately it has maybe other ingredients in it. So the thing is, if you're not using 100% pure henna powder, that is just henna powder, the indigo is gonna have a harder time sticking to the hair strands for sure. Like it needs henna as its foundation to stick to the hair. So if you have like 9 other Ayurvedic herbs all in this mix, with proportions you probably don't really know because, you know, any brand doesn't really just share their recipe of their formulation with you. So you don't really know how much of each of all of these herbs are actually in there, how much henna, you know. So you need a good base of henna and a good quality henna powder like our Red Raj to help the indigo cling better to the hair strands, and that's gonna help a lot. The next thing is make sure that you clarify beforehand. Use our soap nut hair wash. It works amazing. It really, really does. This naturally clarifies the hair. It's going to open everything up to receive the color so much better, and it smells so good. So definitely use this, and it's SLS free. And another thing that you want to definitely check out is the fact that maybe your hair is coming out really orangey still and the indigo just seems not to be covering that. What I recommend is use equal parts of henna and indigo. Like, so you're gonna do a brown recipe, and when in that brown recipe, you're gonna be getting more of a browner tone to start with on the grays and your hair in general, and less of a possibility of that brightness of that red or orangey tones coming out in your henna. So definitely do that first once you wash that out with our cleansing co-wash, because you need to restore back the moisture. So use that. Next, you do your indigo and then apply your indigo. Your hair can still be damp, and apply it really well. And make sure you're especially always getting the edges. In every coloring step, you want to make sure to get the edges. Don't let it dry out, you know, cover, wrap it up. I definitely like to go back over it, give it a nice massage, make sure it feels cool everywhere, and then I always touch up the edges at the end. So make sure you also make enough, and be patient with it. Sometimes it does take 2, 3, 4 applications. Remember, it's just plant-based herbal dye, you know, so sometimes it requires a little bit more layering, and you know, gray hair is like virgin new hair, so it just stands out so much. So just be patient with the whole process. Don't give up, because sometimes it might not be perfect the first time, honestly. And if any of you have been watching for a long time, you know that I am like 100% transparent. I like to share as much of the details as possible and all the possible outcomes. I'd rather you be very well informed so you can make your own personal decision and see what works best for you, because at the end of the day, this is your hair. Does indigo have benefits? You might be wondering, well, I don't even know what indigo is to begin with. So let me give you a quick little tidbit on what indigo actually is. Indigo is a plant, and we import our indigo from India, and this plant creates a natural blue-black kind of stain, and if you use it on its own, it can even pull a little bit of a green tone, a green hue. And so traditionally, a lot of indigo is used to like dye jeans. It'll give you like a, you know, a bluish, you know, blue jeans, you know, it's coming from the indigo plant. And when it comes to hair, indigo is used with henna to make it more brown to black, because like paints, you know, you have henna, which is pretty reddish, and you got that indigo, which is kind of blue black. You know, putting it together, you get brown, just like paints. You can get that range of reddish brown, and up to dark brown, and even black tones with indigo. A lot of people wonder, like, does it have any benefits on its own, like at all? No, unfortunately, indigo doesn't really have a whole lot of other benefits. Its purpose is to dye, and that's what its main purpose is. It definitely dyes the hair, but it doesn't really give any oomph to the hair. That's its job, and it does its job, and boom, then you've got great color, you know, and coverage for sure. And it definitely covers grays as well. What if you use coffee in henna? What's gonna happen? What are the possibilities? Well, if you're sensitive to coffee and caffeine, I definitely don't recommend that you use coffee in your henna treatment. Caffeine can be a little drying, so if your hair is on the dry side, I still also wouldn't recommend it, because it can just dry out your hair strands, and henna can be a little drying on its own. First of all, what's the purpose of coffee in a henna recipe? Well, coffee a lot of times can darken out the henna a little bit. So if you want to tone down some of the reddish tone, it can slightly like tone it down somewhat. It doesn't overpower it the way that indigo does, but it can definitely tone it down some. And some people really love the way that it leaves the hair smelling. You know, if you really love coffee, that's a really nice scent. So you can use coffee, but if you do, you know, need more moisture, you're gonna have to incorporate moisture in that hair regimen treatment. You know, you might have to add some aloe vera powder, some hair oils, maybe even fenugreek. The thing is that fenugreek can dilute the color a little bit, so it just really depends on what your focus is. If it's about coloring your hair, I definitely recommend that you just do it the traditional way, using warm to hot distilled water, and that will give you really great results. And if you're just looking for a treatment, like something new and fun and different, so you can use coffee. Usually when you're using the coffee, you're probably gonna either use instant granules or you're gonna brew some espresso. You could do that. Again, just note that it's gonna be caffeine that you're also adding to that recipe at the same time. But just add any moisturizing ingredients that you need. Like I mentioned, aloe, hair oil, fenugreek. Just make sure it's well balanced. If you want to use coffee, yogurt's great, you know, shea butter, cocoa butter. If you just want a protein treatment, you know, with some coffee to try something new and, you know, some fun with it, you know, you could definitely check that out. Can I use coconut milk in my henna? The answer is absolutely yes, you definitely can. I would say that coconut milk is considered a bit of a heavier liquid, so it may dilute some of the color of the red. So if your focus is coloring your hair, I wouldn't recommend it. But if you want to get all the deliciousness of coconut milk, and your hair really loves coconut, I would highly recommend it in your henna recipe because it adds a lot more moisture. It's so creamy and nourishing. Try to get a coconut milk also that has some of the fat on it, you know, not like the diluted ones. Get a really nice rich coconut milk that has that extra fat in it because it's just so good and nourishing for your hair. It'll leave it so soft, it'll make it more manageable. It's a really great treatment for a focus of like when you're trying to get those goals of strengthening your hair and also at the same time getting moisture. That's a great combination, and you can even use just those two ingredients. It's as simple as that. You know, you don't want to, you know, dilute all the benefits from the henna. So using coconut milk is a really good balance for a nice mask that you can probably do like every 3 to 4 weeks. And again, I will see you soon because I know you subscribed and hit that bell. So I'm gonna see you every Sunday and Thursday with brand new videos. And I can't wait because I got so much coming up for you guys you don't want to miss. See you soon. Bye.